And with increased reliance on cloud services, how does SSO fit into modern cybersecurity ecosystem? Hi, this is Shira Rubinoff. I'm here with David Habusha, Head of Product at Memseco. David, it's a pleasure to have you here with us today.
Hi, Shira. Pleasure to be here.
Great. So, David, we're going to discuss today single sign-on, also known as SSO, myths and facts in a non-sales way. And we're also going to touch upon emerging regulations, statistics, and the need to shift towards digital trust and customer protection. So it's an interesting topic, a very important topic, and I'm glad to have you here to discuss this. So David, can you please clarify some common misconceptions surrounding SSO in cybersecurity? And what are some of the facts that businesses need to know today?
Yeah, single sign-on was created to allow businesses to provide a convenient access for users and to be able to commission and decommission users across different systems. So it lowers the burden on the administrators, and it also creates a security advantage as they are using one password and they can log into different systems simultaneously without the need to retype the password and then be phished using the password. So it creates a sense of security, but this sense of security is correct, but to a certain limit, in which threat actors started understanding that this is also a threat vector. And these admins also need to understand that single sign-on systems needs to be monitored. They need to understand if there's drift. They need to add additional levels of controls to make sure that the SSO is highly secured and providing the right level of security to these organizations.
No, that's very important. And I know that SSO is often praised for its convenience. And as you said, you got to be careful because some critics argue it poses security risks. And there are many, and you touched upon a few. So what are the key security considerations when implementing SSO? And how can these concerns be addressed effectively? And I know a lot of organizations are migrating or already are doing SSO, but there are those risks that they need to take a look at. So please, can you share that with us?
Sure. So first of all, organizations need to understand that when they migrate new applications to single sign-on, they need to make sure that all users are actually migrated to the new systems. They need to maintain a list and monitor the users and applications to make sure that there are no drifts. But they also need to understand that SSO by itself is good for security, but it's not good enough. They need to add additional layers of controls. I would say that the most effective one is multi-factor authentication or two-factor authentication, in which they use additional authentication method that could be a text message or biometrics or QR code or authentication applications. So that reduces the risk of imposter SSO services or bad actors trying to lure users into false SSO pages. And they also need to apply some anomaly detection. So understand if it makes sense for this user to use this system in this time of the day, and maybe there's something fishy around here that needs to be taken care of.
No, very important. And I know a lot of organizations and people, when we are looking at the different types of levels of security, get this almost like feeling that if we implement something, we're good enough. So it's important that you highlighted the other areas we need to look at, and it's a continuous monitoring. And with increased reliance on cloud services, how does SSO fit into modern cybersecurity ecosystem?
So it helps organizations very much with adding new users and decommissioning users when they leave work, so they don't have access to systems anymore. So it's easy. And they can also use all the third-party SaaS services using SSO. So once they have an entity in their single sign-on system, they can just use it to access any SaaS service like HubSpot, Salesforce, HR systems, etc., which is very convenient. It's very secure, but it creates, I would say, the false feeling among users that anything that they see from this moment on using SSO is secure. And that's where kind of like organizations need to understand that this is also being used by threat actors to use imposter SSO sign-in pages and websites because users are already used to the experience, it's very easy for them to just click on login through SSO and then surrender their credentials. So they need to be really aware of that as an emerging threat.
No, of course. So can you help our audience understand what best practices can they follow to maximize the benefits of SSO while maintaining the robust security measures that they need to have, that they need to implement, that they need to have on a daily basis?
Sure, they need to continuously monitor and find drifts, users or applications that are not SSO enabled. So all the systems will be kind of like aligned and using the single sign-on systems. They need to make sure that they add more and more levels of controls because of the emerging attacks, such as MFA pass-on and SIM swapping that bypass multi-factor authentication, which a lot of organizations don't realize that it's today very easy to bypass those controls. And wherever possible, use what's called conditional access, which means that they define policies like, nobody can access the system from North Korea in this time of the day or from China, or it doesn't make sense for the user to access the system simultaneously from 2 areas of the world, and so on and so forth, to be able to narrow down kind of like the use cases in which users can log into the systems, and by that also reducing the attack surface that is being used by threat actors to fight SSO and actually create imposter SSO login pages and lure users into surrendering their credentials.
No, that's great advice. And I'll ask you, maybe do you have a cybersecurity hint, or maybe something you want to share along the path of cybersecurity for our audience that you just think about, whether it pertains to this specific topic or anything else along the cybersphere that you deal with over there?
Yeah, I think that if you look at digital risk as a whole, trying to understand the problem of phishing and trying to steal credentials or use payment like credit card payment methods. And if you look at enterprises when it pertains to employees, most of the attacks carried on users are simple. They're trying to just create a similar experience to the original service. And it's very likely that users will fall whenever they see something that looks familiar to what they're used to, whether it's SSO or any service. And I would say that organizations need to continuously understand that bad actors are copying what they do. They try to create a similar experience as much as possible and to lure users into doing that. So they need to, first of all, understand that. They need to embrace the technologies and the guardrails to combat these types of attacks. And they need to add more and more defense layers on top of their websites and their digital services, could be mobile applications or any other type of digital service to combat that.
Oh, that's a great point. And one thing I just want to highlight what you said is really understand. That word is so critical in our space. Understand what your attack posture is, understand what you have, understand what you need to protect, understand where the attacks are coming from, understand what you need to do to lock it down and be secure. So David, thank you very much for your share with the audience. I know that they will greatly appreciate it, and it certainly made an impact. So I appreciate your time today.
Thank you, Shira.
Thank you.